Lee,
Taylor.
James. James, not there. Lee. Am I hosting?
Yeah, you are.
I'm hosting. Oh, well, this has got to be the best start to one of our podcasts.
Did you not know you were hosting?
I didn't know I was hosting.
Do you want me to host?
No, I don't mind. I'll host. That's
right.
fine. It's fine. But usually I do a little bit of looking and where we're at with the episodes. We'd have to be up to episode 30 now, wouldn't we?
I think so, yeah.
I'll check.
Wait there.
Yeah.
Past episode 30, wouldn't we?
It's not far off. This is like the worst start to an episode.
This is a great start. This is just showing the listener how
31.
There we go.
Mate,
31. I'm one off. That's pretty good. Welcome to episode 31 of the Rugby League Coach podcast. We're back. We're back today.
Well, we had a week off. You'd think we'd had a month off.
Well, we had a week off, and then before that, we did have at least 2 to 3 weeks off, didn't we? So
yeah, true.
It has been sporadic throughout the Christmas New Year's period. Of course, today is Australia Day here in Australia. So we've had that public holiday. It's a long day. I was here today at the beach where I am in this beautiful background.
Were you actually at the beach, the real beach today?
Yeah, I took the car up to Bribey Island with the kids and the wife.
Nice.
Nice. Drove on the beach, gave my wife a heart attack, all that sort of stuff,
Okay.
everything you do, and had myself a bit of fun. So, of course, welcoming, as per usual, Lee Addison and James Varley into the podcast today. We're going to be talking about centres. Before we talk about centres, Lee, it's been a week since I've seen you. 2 weeks almost to the day. What's been happening? Well, you've been busy.
Well,
this is your big time of the year, isn't it? Start of the year.
Yeah, I've been doing all my pre-season roadshow stuff. So I spent a week in the Central Coast and Sydney. Got lost on the whole way home from Sydney because Crusher Cleal announced his retirement.
That's
and I'm
right.
old friends with Crush, and I ended up on his farm and had 1 or 2 schooners before we got there, kind of thing. So and then maybe a few more. So I got lost on the way back to Brisbane and was a day behind schedule. And then clinics in Logan and Capalaba coming up. I've got another one in the Logan area at Mustangs Brothers coming up soon. A big event at Beerwah for 4 weeks with the Beerwah Bulldogs. Great name, Beerwah, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Beer. I'm going all over the show, mate. Blue Mountains, Bundaberg, Pine Rivers on the north side, Gold Coast and Orang, Springfield in Ipswich. So yeah, it's a really, really busy time, including Orange. I'm off to Orange doing a weekend there at the Orange Hawks. So yeah, plenty of kilometres. Yep.
Yeah, lovely. Well, it's good to see you out and about, getting those kilometres into this. I feel like every time I log onto Facebook, you've somehow made yourself to the start of my feed, and it's always a new venue added. This time it's in here. It's there.
100%. Yeah, just know that those kilometres won't be running, because I was training with one of my kids today that I look after one-on-one, and I train with him, young Sione, Lecker as they call him, and to make him train harder, I often run with him.
Yeah.
And we were doing some sprint races, and I went full pelt on one, and my hamstring pulled quite. And I've never, ever done a hamstring. So I'm sat here now with ice on my hammy, basically. But honestly, mate, I have never done a hamstring, but I knew straight away. I was actually laughing when I fell down. Well, because I slipped on. I was only.
Did you fall?
Trainers.
Did you hit the deck?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
the old sniper got him.
I just laughed. I went, like that kind of thing. So, it was just sort of hilarious the way I fell down. So, I definitely won't be running those kilometres, mate. That's for sure. But I can walk okay, so maybe I could do that.
So let's talk. Sorry, James, I'm hijacking the start of this episode because I am interested. Obviously, you did go and have a couple of beers with Crusher and Cleo on his. Did you say on his farm? Does he have a farm? Does he?
Yeah, he does. So, he lives sort of in between Brisbane and Sydney, basically. So without really revealing where he is. Yeah. But he's always, he grew up on a farm as a kid, so he's always liked the farm environment. And we've not seen each other for a while actually, but we always got on great. And he announced his retirement last week from recruitment and rugby league in general, and just sent him a good luck message and thanks for everything. And turns out I had his old number, and then I got his new number, and he said, we should catch up for a beer one day. I said, well, would you believe it, Mr. Cleo? I'll be passing your neck of the woods in the car tomorrow. So how does 3 p.m. sound? So, and originally it was a coffee shop we were going to meet at. and then I'm an hour away from the destination, and he says, texts me and goes, Lee, meet me at the such and such hotel. I thought, yep, here we go. So no, it was good. He's a legend. He's a legend. He's a great bloke.
I know a few Cleals, and they know how to bend the elbow. The Cleals, don't you worry about that. They're synonymous. Synonymous with bending the old elbow. Well, he actually made the headlines shortly, not shortly, long after that for retiring, but had a spray at the current players. He'd had enough. He'd had enough.
Yeah, he was called them greedy. Things. Yeah.
He was out of it. He's walked out of rugby league and he's decided to take some necks.
Here we go.
Yeah. This is how I really feel. Oh, good on him. Yeah. Good on him. Good on him. So Noel Cleal retiring. Lee stops in. You've had this massive roadshow. What a start to 2023. And rugby league. Good. Honestly, rugby league's around the corner now. I feel like, I know myself. I'm commentating the Broncos v Wynnum trial on February 4th. Wow. So, that's a big one for me, commentating obviously in an NRL scenario. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to that.
But who are you doing that for, Taylor?
I'm doing that for John Devine Media.
Yeah, Johnny.
So I'll be working with our good friend John Devine. He's putting together that. I think he's going to do multiple camera angles. It's going to be broadcast on Facebook. So if you're into your Broncos,
was he commentating on that day cricket?
No, he's doing it with me, but he decided to bring in the big guns for this one, mate. You can't do the Broncos without bringing in the big guns. So lots going on, and football's around the corner. It's very exciting stuff, which means two things. We're about to start getting to the nitty gritty. We can talk salary cap. We can talk all those sorts of issues. But before we do any of that, we need to round off our team. We've been talking about these teams.
We're timing it quite well, though, lad. We're timing it quite
perfectly.
Because if you want to, next week we can just do halves. We can go 6 and 7 together, and then we've covered the team, and then the trials have started, and away we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how good. And you know what? It's got us through the long summer months where there's not much rugby league on the spectrum. There's you go to KO Sports, it's all just replays of rugby league. There's not much doing. So we've survived another off season, can I say? But before we move on to their centers, now there's lots to talk about here when you come to the center positioning. We've recently been capping all our favourites with certain positions for the last couple of weeks. I'd like to talk to you, James and Lee. You blokes, as we know, as we've highlighted in a couple of episodes, are a little bit older than myself and have more of a library, can I say?
And a little bit more pommy.
A little bit more of a library of rugby league knowledge than I do.
You've now got a week to study halves, Taylor.
I'm right, mate. I know what a halves can do. I was a half stuck in a prop body my whole career. You know that. But in terms of centers, in the history of centers, there's been lots of different changes, lots of shuffling. Of course, there was the inside center and the outside center, sort of an early adaptation of the rugby union towards rugby league. So do you want to split? I thought this episode, instead of looking at individual centers like we do, I thought we could come up with the best inside center and outside center pairing. And then the post era where we are now, where it's just centers on each side of the field, because they're completely different.
But I wouldn't know what an inside centre was or an outside centre, to be honest. Though.
Didn't you?
No.
I wouldn't really. I agree, really.
Really?
Right. We're not that old, you cheeky.
What? You don't remember that?
Nah.
I played inside outside centre when I was under 10s or something.
I remember some old-fashioned coaches still referring to it as that. Like your school coach or something would call it inside centre, outside centre, but ultimately, in the professional game, I don't think it was part of my fabric as a human being.
It was never part of. Okay, I remember clearly those days. I clearly remember that. But anyway, I might be off my rocker there.
I've always thought of it. Sorry, Taylor. Sorry.
No, you're right.
Don't forget, we both grew up in England, though. So things might have changed. Different time.
Yeah, you just got bred over there, didn't you?
No, mate, no, you just got bred over it.
All right.
I've always thought of it as more a rugby union thing, really.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was in league. Definitely. If you look at some team sheets from back in the day,
they ran with
inside centre. Yeah.
And inside centre was more or less, I guess, a quicker 5'8", you could say.
Okay.
And your outside centre, I think, the outside centre, and they used to wear number 4 was your inside centre, and number 3 was your outside centre. Wow, that's how they used to. That's how they used to tear them apart. Yeah, right. Okay, we'll move away from that. And let's just start. I want to start talking about some centers that are synonymous with rugby league now. Most of mine are post NRL era. And I know, James, you're going to have a massive list there. Lee, you've got a list to talk about there.
I've not done a list. I've not prepared. The I'm not prepared. I've just done a bit of Googling.
Do you want to go by clubs? And what we'll do this time is instead of Lee picks a pairing and James picks a pairing, how about you pick one each to be a pairing together?
Are you going to keep score?
What's the you are fascinated, Lee, with keeping. There's always a winner and a loser with you. You can't just have a nice, courteous friendship.
Okay, let's all have a trophy. Thank you.
I don't want to hand out trophies. Why do you always want to hand out trophies?
Well done. You competed. You played well. You played nicely.
This isn't the new under 6s to under 12s in New South Wales Rugby League, right? It's not what it is.
If I'm grimacing at any point, it's because of this ice pack on my leg. I'm moving it around.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Geographically, there might be some grimacing points there, Angela.
Well, I've got a fair pair of legs on me in terms of like tree trunk. You know, it's a bit bigger than that tree behind you on this footage. So,
all right. Let's do this. Let's do the point system. We'll go through the NRL teams. Lee wants to keep score. Sorry, James. I wanted the nice, friendly podcast, but Lee's not up to that apparently. Let's go with the Canterbury Bulldogs. Let's start with the Bulldogs.
Best centre, Canterbury Bulldogs, historical or
historical. Let's go one apiece. I'm going to start with James Varley because Lee Addison's had an attitude to start this podcast, and I don't like it.
Again.
I do have a bit. I do have a bit of a list prepared. I'd say going back. Willie Tonga.
Willie Tonga. That's a great pick. That's a great nomination. He played a lot for Queensland, didn't he? Too, Willie Tonga.
Yeah.
Partnering Israel Folau.
Best Bulldog centres. Was Matt Utai a centre?
Matt Utai was a winger.
Oops.
That was Matt Utai was a winger.
I'm having an absolute mental blank on centres.
Shall I try and help you, Lee? We won't guess the early 90s one. Went to St. Helens.
I know. John Greaves. You're thinking Gary Connolly.
I'm thinking.
That's who I was thinking. John Greaves.
Yeah. Jared McCracken. Another early 90s one. Yeah.
What about one of the best goal kickers of all time?
El Masri.
Darryl Halligan.
He's a wing.
Darryl Halligan. Halligan was a winger.
This is the worst podcast in the history of.
Halligan wasn't a winger. He played centre as well. Darryl Halligan.
I can't remember that personally.
Oh, you're off it. Okay.
All right. Who gets a point?
I'm going to give that one to James Varley. Let's move on, fellas, to the Penrith Panthers.
Luke Rooney.
You're going to Luke Rooney? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Ryan Girdler.
Good. You've got me again.
Comfortable win there, Varley. We've got 2-0. Varley leads Lee there. Well, let's move on to the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks.
Is it me first this time or Lee?
It is you first this time.
I liked, I don't know if you remember him because he's more late 90s, Russell Richardson.
I do remember Russell Richardson. Yeah. He was a St. Greg's boy, wasn't he, Leroy?
Definitely was, yeah. And I think he just made one of the teams of the decade too.
He did. Right. He did make one of the teams of the decade.
Yeah. When I start talking like that, you know that I'm trying to Google. I'm having an absolute shocker. I've not prepared anything.
I thought you were going to start talking about my entry into the team of the decade. I was going to stop it, Lee. Don't worry about it, mate. We'll talk about it another time.
I thought personally that one of the best centres ever that played for Cronulla was what's his name? It's Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers.
Yes.
That's a great pick, Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Richardson v Rogers is a very good battle there. I'm going to go with Rogers. I think Rogers was. I'm going to go with Rogers there, but I think Russell Richardson played a lot of football for Australia as well, so he's not to be discounted in this forum.
Yeah,
North Queensland Cowboys.
Is it me first?
It is you first, Lee.
What's his name? Who played loads of Origin? He's played quite recently as well, and he's.
I know who it is. I know who you're thinking of, but I'm not going to give it away, James. Don't worry about it.
He's quite recently too.
Yes.
And I've totally. Oh, go on, you go, James, and then I'll go.
I'm gonna go like the modern Valentine Holmes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Lee, I know who you're thinking of. Do you want me to tell you?
No, because it's going to get to me because I've got his picture in my head. Brent Tate.
Brent Tate.
Brent Tate, I've got on my list. Yeah, he was a good player.
I might go with Brent Tate. I think that's a great pick. Brent Tate was very solid defensively, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Very, very solid defensively, Brent Tate. So at the moment, I've got the score evened up now. Varley 2, Lee 2. 2 apiece. Varley early, 2-0 lead. Now it's back and square. Vals, we're going to go with the Parramatta Eels now, and you're up next.
Seeing I've got first shot, I'll go Jamie Lyon.
Oh, good. Great pick. This will be very hard to top lead.
Zip. The zip, man. Steve Ella won 4 premierships.
Spell at Wigan, of course, in the mid-80s team, didn't they?
Zip, man.
I'm still thinking. It's very hard for me.
I'm a massive Lyon fan.
It's very hard for me to judge. I didn't see Steve Ella play, but Jamie Lyon was one of the best for a very, very long period of time. I think it'll be hard for me to go past Jamie Lyon. 3 for Mr. Varley, 2 now for Lee Addison. Lee, you'll get a chance to hit straight back with the Melbourne
Greg Inglis.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow, quick.
Yeah,
another one that'll be very hard to pick here.
I like Justin Holland. I'll go the modern. I like him as a player, but I won't rate him like English, but I like.
You sort of couldn't win there, could you? You couldn't win. Greg Inglis.
Not really.
It's very hard to win that one. So Lee, 3-3. Now evened it up nice and quickly there. James, the Sydney City Roosters.
Right.
I'm thinking of some outstanding number 4s for the Roosters.
Justin Hodges.
Justin Hodges, that's a great pick. And that rules him out of the Broncos conversation as well, Lee.
Dally Messenger.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to the 80s,
mate, they've only got a medal named after him. He played centre.
They have.
You can't get rid of that. That's 4. Lee's gone to 4, Varley 3. Now, before we move on, any honourable mentions for the Roosters? Anyone? I can't believe Shannon Hegarty didn't get a look in there. He played a lot of
good player.
Sean Kenny Dowell, not a bad player.
Not a bad player at all.
Ryan Cross, dual international.
Yeah, definitely some great players there.
Great players for the Roosters. I think they've always had very good centres for some reason. Let's move on to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And we are starting with you, Lee, because you won that Dally M on the back end.
Herb Gilbert got into their team of the century.
Herb Gilbert.
Yes, team of the century, that's all.
I must admit, I'm going from like the 80s towards now. So these team of the centuries is going to beat me on. I'll go Campbell Graham. He plays centre.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah.
See, unfortunately for Lee, no one from that team of the century, that decade. There's no one here, so I'm going Campbell Graham.
This competition then.
You're better off going with the current ones. Actually, maybe the next task. Tell me who's going to be their centre in 5 years. Canberra Raiders. Now we're starting with you, Mr. Varley. Canberra Raiders.
Mal Meninga.
Oh,
got to be.
That's going to be tough to top Lee.
I know, because he's just took the one I had.
Yeah.
Put Jason Croker in there because I think he's all right. I think he's good.
Yeah, that's another one for Varley, but Jared Croker, he's exceptional and well on the way to beating the point scoring record. If he can keep himself in the team, he's going to be one of the highest point scorers the NRL's ever had. Moving on now to the Broncos, keeping in mind we can't use Justin Hodges, who's already been used by Varley. So Lee.
Steve Renouf.
Oh,
you've took the words out of my mouth there, Lee, on that one. I think who else? Just go down the list a little bit. I have one for the Broncos. I'm going to go. Did Darren Smith play centre for Brisbane Broncos? A little bit. He's not up to Reynolds standards. I agree with Darren Smith played centre.
I'm not sure if Darren Smith played centre. Lee, do you know that one? Did Darren Smith play centre?
No comment. I'm not running the show here.
I'm not asking you to running the show. I am running the show, and I asked for your input. It's completely different. Considering you've got that attitude, we're going to move on to James Varley, the Dragons, George Illawarra Dragons.
I liked I like Mark Gasnier.
Oh,
superb offloading. Yeah.
I just reckon his uncle or whatever it was, Reg, was probably a bit better than him and played centre as well.
Yeah, family affair, definitely there. Yeah. Well, yeah. I was sure he played for St George, Reg Gasnier, but I wasn't 100% Lee. That's why I went for Mark Gasnier.
Oh, so you're going for the joint venture? Is that what is James? Are you arguing technicality? Are we arguing technicality here?
I did like Mark Gasnier's handling, passing the ball out and offloading game.
I think Mark Gasnier had one of the best shimmy moves to the outsides in the modern era, I believe, and probably formed one of the best centre combinations for a long time there with Matt Cooper, because Matt Cooper was just so strong defensively.
Solid.
And then Gasnier on the outside. Of course, we lost Gasnier to Union for a little bit. Mark Gasnier, he went over to France, I believe. Now we're moving on to the Manly Seagulls. Lee, you're up first. No Jamie Lyon.
Bob Fulton.
I'm trying to think with this one. Maybe just struggling a little bit with this one.
You're going to be hard to beat Bob Fulton anyway.
It is. Well, Tom Trbojevic, I'll put him in the centres.
He's never played centre for Manly, though, has he? I think he should be deducted points for that.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
Let me consult the rule book. Denied.
Haven't he ever played centre for him? I'd be surprised if he never had. But
he's played centre for New South Wales. But correct me if I'm wrong, Lee. I think he played a few games on the wing, and then he was almost shifted immediately into fullback, wasn't he?
That's what I think. Yeah. So I do think there's possibly a chance to deduct him a few points. What score is it, Taylor?
The score is now Lee 7, James 5.
Oh, I'm cutting away.
Streaking away with only 4 more categories to go. This one's going to be a little bit difficult because they haven't really had a centre that stood out, in my opinion. The Gold Coast Titans.
Who's first? Me, innit?
No, it's not. You went first.
It is because he went. Oh, yeah.
You went first with me. Maybe I'll deduct a point there. Cheating.
Let me consult the rule book.
I'm struggling a bit with Gold Coast anyway, so I shall give that one over.
Hand that one over to Lee. It's now 8.
Hoffman. Josh Hoffman.
Josh Hoffman. Yeah, that's a good pick. And to be fair, as I mentioned, they haven't had very many, really stay centers. I would have accepted Matt Rogers as an answer. I would have accepted Will Zillman for an answer. But they haven't had necessarily any really top flight centers at the Titans in their 20-year venture. The Newcastle Knights, starting with you, Lee.
Kurt Gidley.
I'll go Matt Gidley.
I'm going to go with Kirk Gidley here. And I'll tell you why, because he captained his state. That's huge. He captained his state. Unfortunately, it's now 9-5. Lee's streaking out to a lead, but we still have the last 2. We have the New Zealand Warriors to start off with, and James, New Zealand Warriors.
I'm going to put Ruben Wiki in the centre for New Zealand Warriors.
Ruben Wiki in the centre.
Lee.
You just got taken the one. I'll give James that because then I've got a bit of a cushion.
You have. I agree. So, edge back a bit.
Last but not least, the West Tigers.
What's his face from Greg's?
I know his face and I know the name.
Yeah,
I'm not. That's not.
What's his name?
I'm asking the questions, not this. Chris Lawrence.
Chris Lawrence. Him. Yeah.
Chris Lawrence.
Yeah, that's who I'm picking. Yeah, Chris Lawrence.
James.
Paul Fatuera.
Oh.
Chris Lawrence.
I tell you what, Paul Fatuera was an exceptional rugby league player, but Chris Lawrence is one of the highest capped Tigers ever. Did Chris Lawrence played for Australia, but not New South Wales, if I'm correct there, Lee?
Correct, I think. Correct, Amondo, I think.
He played for, I believe so. I believe I'm right there. I think we're done. We've gone through 1 to 16 of the NRL table, and the score is in Lee 10, James 6.
Yes.
Yeah. That started really well, didn't it? That was sprint start. Yeah. When my hamstring went, I think, Lee, when I had the sprint.
Yeah. I've took my ice pack off now.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, I think James will have plenty of centres he'd like to discuss because he always does the research, Taylor.
Well, that's what I was gonna come on to. The fact that James would have a lot of centres here to throw up for discussion, and maybe we could just have a chat in and around some of those centres that he's picked.
You got to wonder about his research, though. I mean, if he has been researching, surely the NRL teams are going to come into the equation, and he's picked like blokes that have played 3 games.
You know what? I think happens with James. I think he researches. I reckon he'd have 50 names there. I think comfortably he'd have 50 names.
Got quite a few,
but he doesn't have clubs next to him. So when the club comes up, I think he gets a little flustered. Correct me if I'm wrong here. And he's scaling the sheet, going and it's just a state
and scaling down when he's thinking down up and down the list.
So why don't you run us through some of your favourites on the list, James, and we'll just have a little bit of a discussion piece
on this list.
And then I've got a little game I want to play, Taylor, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I was actually going to move on to the NRL salary cap and have a discussion about the possibility of further boycotting.
We'll do that too.
On this list,
just hijacking your coasting, and now I'm hijacking James's answer.
No, I just think maybe next time you should do the polite thing and text me through if you want to hijack the podcast. Just text me through the subject. And I'll bring it up, Lee, like we usually do. Just let me know what you want to talk about.
Well, I thought you'd be in control, being the host, but I've had to step up to the plate again.
What do you mean? I am in control. I just said we're going to move on to the salary cap. And you were like, well, I'd like to play a game before we do that. I'd like to play James.
Come on, lad.
You've had 4 swigs. Is that a beer or a coffee? You've been swigging at
it. It's a coffee. It's a coffee. I'm going back. Well, are we going off this list that we've named or going back a bit to the 80s?
No,
you want?
Whoever you want. Obviously, you've got a lot of names you've researched here. I don't want it to go to waste. So pick out your favourites and let's have a discussion piece.
Of British players, Gary Connolly and Paul Newell from the early 90s.
Very good.
So
very good.
And who they play for?
Newell, Featherstone, Bradford, St
Wigan. Gary played for Wigan. Lager.
And one going a bit later in the British, Keith Senior. Leeds.
Yeah, not bad. I just felt he was a bit one-dimensional in the sense that didn't have that much in the way of footwork. Yeah. And he used to jump in a lot in defence. Used to get caught on the outside a bit.
He did. One I liked at Warrington in the early Super League era, Toa Coelho, good footwork. And then Australian Gene Miles. What a partnership he had with Martin and Fire in the early 90s. Wigan team.
Gene
Gleeson. Martin Gleeson. Another British representation.
Yes, very good. He played for Slacks Creek Rugby League Club, which is very close to where we are in Brisbane. Yeah.
Viega Twigamala made an impression, of course.
Yeah.
Well, he passed away last year, didn't he? But made a good impression at Wigan.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Lee?
Just taking a selfie for someone.
Hey, you wonder why I don't have a hold on this podcast. There's just no respect given. You're just blatantly on your phone through the middle of recording.
People listening can't see it though, can they?
Well, they can hear it now because I'm dobbing you in. How have I lost the plot? I'm dobbing you in. There was once a time when I was mucking up at the back of your class. Now you're mucking up at the back of mine. All right, and I will not stand for it.
Can I play my game yet?
Oh, no. All right, Varley, 2 more games before this bloke with the back with ADHD he has a hernia.
I always thought of Matt King as more a centre than a winger, really.
Yeah, I like Matt King.
It's a sensational story too, Matt King. I think we touched on it during Wingers Week, but sensational story.
And then going back on my list a little bit, another one who made a decent impression in that Leeds team in the late 90s, Brad Godden.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Your problem with your research
is all 90s,
James. It's 90s and British based.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very British based, which is good. It brings that flavour in as well. But one thing it is highlighting to me is, I tell you what, if you guys could butt heads and put together your best English 17 ever,
right now.
Oh, not right now. I'm not asking you to do it right now, but it would be a very, very good side, wouldn't it? The Great British Lions best 17.
Yeah,
very, 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 very skillful side. I'd actually like to see put on paper. Maybe we can discuss it during a bye week throughout season 2023. Without further ado, before Lee's head bursts into a ball of flames,
I'll just put my ice pack on it.
Why don't you let me know about your game, Lee? And if it's anything,
I'm going to name X number of centres. I'm going to name 10 centres, just a quick fire game. And you've got to name the clubs they played for. And for every club you get right, you get a point.
Okay. Are you keeping score of the points?
And you've got to do your buzzer. Yeah, of course I am.
All right. What's your buzzer?
Do your buzzer.
James, pick a buzzer.
James's buzzer is hey up. Hey up.
Hey up, yeah. I can use that.
Taylor's is far out. I can't even say it. Far out.
I'm not saying far out. That's not a buzzer.
Far out. Yeah, no, that's what you got to say. That's my game, my rules. Right, let's go. First centre, Mal Meninga.
Far out.
Yes, Taylor.
The Canberra Raiders.
Correct. 1 point to Taylor. Thank you. Number 2, Mick Cronin.
Far out.
Yep.
Bulldogs.
Wrong. James, you get a bonus try.
Struggling a little bit, Lee.
Parramatta Eels. I think I feel like deleting 10 points off both of you.
Can we change James's buzzer to tickets, please?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Tickets, please. Number 3, Steve Renoff.
Tickets, please.
Yes.
I'm going to say, well, it would have said for Brisbane. He's played for Wigan as well. Wigan Warriors.
So Wigan, and who else?
Brisbane.
2 points to you, James. Well done. Thank you.
Right, here we go.
Yeah. Centre number 4, Steve Ella.
Tickets, please.
Yes.
Wigan Parramatta.
The score is currently James Varley 4, Taylor Brown 1. Centre number 5, Greg Inglis.
Far out.
Yep.
Melbourne Storm, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Queensland, Australia. That's 4.
You can have 2 points there. Centre number 6, Jamie Lyon.
Far out.
Tickets, please.
That was Taylor.
The Parramatta Eels and the Manly Seagulls.
Correct.
Oh, now we're neck and neck.
I'd have added another team.
Yeah, go on then, please, James.
I'd have added St Helens to that.
Correct. 5 points each. Coming into the last few. Winger at centre number 7, Steve Rogers.
Tickets,
that was you, Taylor.
Oh, we're both of you. Cronulla Sutherland Sharks.
Yeah, was that his only club?
I don't know. James has been to 3. James didn't know 5 clubs he played for, including his junior club.
Excuse me while I just Google, because I'm reading a thing and it didn't list what clubs he played for, just international.
Is it a thing or a thinger?
He was called Stephen Frederick Rogers. And he also played for St. George Dragons as well.
Oh,
right.
So 6-5 to Taylor. Number 8, Justin Hodges.
Tickets, please.
Yes, James.
Sydney Roosters and Brisbane Broncos.
Correct. Number 9, Andrew Ettinghausen. Because he plays out centre. Yes, tickets, far out, please. Yeah, Taylor.
Right.
The Sharks.
Correct.
And I'll add Leeds to that.
Oh, and you can have a point there. It's currently 8 to James.
The bonus point
and 7 to Taylor Brown. This could be the decider, and I'm just going to double Google just to check.
Is there multiple points on offer? That's the big thing.
That's what I'm checking, yeah.
You want a multiple point.
And if he played for some team in England, that's how James is sneaking through. He remembers him playing for a team in England.
Even if they went there for a 2-week holiday, he remembers.
I can confirm there are... Well, no, they weren't an NRL. He did play for Redcliffe, but they weren't an NRL team then. So you've got 3 top flight clubs that he played for. Chris Close.
Tickets, please.
Taylor again.
Broncos?
Nope. Over to you, James.
I'm struggling a bit with who we played for.
Okay, back over to you, Taylor. Do you want another go?
Was it the Sharks?
Wrong again, James. Why don't you pick a English team, mate? Because he's played for one of those.
Right.
What a damp squib to end this.
Trying to think what era he actually played. Chris Close.
82 to 89.
Oh,
right. It's more really. I started following like mid 80s, and I think he's just before the time I started following it.
Lucky for you, I've got 10 more. I've got 10 more here. I didn't see it before. He played for Manly, Gold Coast, and Hull Kingston Rovers.
Right.
Gold Coast.
Okay. Yep.
Gold Coast Seagulls.
Next centre, Gold Coast Summit. Next centre, Matt Gidley.
Tickets, please.
Yep.
I forgot my buzzer.
St Helens and Newcastle Knights.
Brilliant. They list him better than Kurt, actually.
What?
12th centre, Ryan Girdler.
Far out.
Tickets, please.
Taylor.
Roosters and Penrith Panthers. And he also hosted a segment on the Footy Show.
He played for Penrith.
Girdler. Yeah.
He played for Penrith. Definitely so you get a point for that.
Girdler played for the Roosters.
Just checking if he played for the Roosters. No, he didn't play for the Roosters. He did play for another team, though. James, do you want to have a crack at it?
Trying to think which other team. It'd be obvious one of Penrith. Trying to think who else. I'm struggling a bit with his other team.
Yeah, who is it, Lee?
His other team was Illawarra Steelers.
Oh. Right.
Mark Gasnier.
Tickets, please.
Taylor again.
St George Illawarra Dragons.
Yes.
And Toulouse.
You're not having the Union one.
Why not? It was a big jersey. That's 3 points.
You're lucky. You're lucky I don't take you 3 points off there. Number 14, Latrell Mitchell.
Tickets, please.
James.
South Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go South Sydney because I've just had a bit of a memory block on where he started.
Taylor, would you like to add?
Roosters.
And the score is 11-10 to James Varley.
And he plays for Biripi in the knockout. Does that count?
Number 15, Steve Matai.
Tickets, please.
Taylor.
Manly. What a good out. He outside in defensively would have been one of the scariest things ever in the world of rugby league. You imagine playing Manly and having to look over your shoulder for a centre like Steve Matai?
It would be interesting to see if there's a bit of a time delay with this getting to James because
it seems to be catching.
Come
on. Didn't he have a lot of battles with Keith Senior, Steve Matai? I think they were quite big rivals, weren't they?
What, in the pub or whatever?
Well, mate, probably so, yeah.
We had a few battles with a hairdresser to get those braids in, I reckon.
Matt Cooper.
Far out.
Please.
Just Taylor again. Just Taylor.
St George Illawarra Dragons.
Correct. You're now in the lead, Taylor. Ooh. The next one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on offer.
Can we have a go beforehand? Like you've just said that he's played for 5 different clubs.
Yeah.
Can I have a crack at who the person is for all the
points? If you get it, I will give you 2 points.
Right.
If I get it, you'll give me 2 points?
Yeah.
Steve Menzies.
No. That's disgraceful effort.
What do you mean it's a disgraceful effort? He was a great centre.
You're lucky I don't deduct your points.
He was a great centre and he played for every club.
James? He's the second rower.
What?
He played centre to start. I'm not having this argument.
Is he modern in the last 10 years, is he?
I can't say anything.
Right.
So you're reading off the top 20 of all time list, are you?
I can't confirm my sources.
Okay. So it's someone that's one of the best centers ever that played for 5 different clubs.
Yeah.
So he got in trouble, the lad, did he? He got shopped around a bit.
All right. The name of the centre is Terry Hill. Which club did he play for?
Manly.
I didn't hear a buzzer.
Far out.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Honestly.
Manly.
Yep.
Bulldogs.
Terry Hill. Over to you, James.
I was thinking of Terry Lamb.
Right. Did he have a spell in England?
No, thank you. Taylor, back to you.
Right.
Dragons.
No, back to you, James. If you don't know, you might as well just throw every NRL team out, and you might get a point.
Yeah. 5 of them.
James, sometime today would be nice.
Yeah.
Have a stab.
Not the Bulldogs.
Just pick an NRL team.
I said
already had the Bulldogs. Thank you. Wrong. Yeah. Taylor.
Roosters.
Yes. Point to Taylor. Taylor, any more?
Parramatta.
No. Back to you, James.
Not West
yes,
Tigers.
James. Right. But the suburbs, the western suburbs.
Right.
And the West Tigers. So actually, there's probably really only 4 points on offer there. Thank you. Because I gave you a point for that. Brent Tate.
Tickets, please.
James, that delay must have gone.
Yeah, Brisbane. Yeah, I think it has. Brisbane and North Queensland.
There's 2. There's one more, Taylor.
Who? Brent Tate.
Yeah.
And who'd you say for? Who'd you say?
He said Brisbane and North Queensland.
Roosters. Brent Tate.
Do you want another go?
Did he play for St George?
Nah. Do you want another go, Taylor? It's currently equal scores, by the way. So.
Brent Tate, Cowboys.
Nah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you already said Cowboys and
Brisbane.
Yeah.
Brisbane, and it's a third team.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the Roosters.
I'm thinking.
I'm stumped. Who did he play for other than them?
Are we quitting?
Yeah, I am.
Warriors.
Right.
How long for? What years?
He was a regular. I do remember him at the Warriors.
What? Ironing board, neck and all.
Next one. Michael Jennings.
Far out.
Yes, Taylor. Yeah. Every time you say so far out, I think you just reacted to the name. Far out, why is he on the list? Go on.
Penrith.
Yep.
Roosters.
Yep.
Parramatta.
Correct. All 3 nailed him. The score with 1 centre to go. I think there's only 1 anyway. I did find another 10. In fact, there's some honourable mentions here too. We can keep going. It's up to you. But now we'd use them if it was a tiebreaker. The score is 17 to Taylor Brown and 14 to James Varley. And I think there's only 1 point available for this next one. Mark Hughes.
Tickets, please.
James.
Newcastle.
Correct. 15 to James.
Mark Hughes played had some time in England, didn't he?
You're thinking of the footballer, Mark Hughes.
17.
Yeah.
No, I swear Mark Hughes played a little bit in England.
No.
I don't think he did.
He did.
I can't recall it.
You won, Taylor. Relax.
No, I don't care about winning. It's about the truth.
Good game, that, wasn't it?
It was a good game.
It was.
Whoa. Catalans Dragons in Super League. There we go.
Right.
Okay,
so
another point to you. Yeah. Well done.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Coming on for wet sail, Taylor. Well done.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on. We don't have too much left because we've pretty much used up our standard allocated time. But I do want to touch on the concerning issues happening at the moment in rugby league, in the NRL and the NRLW in particular, when it comes to finding a CBA. Of course, there's been troubles with the CBA for a long time now. The NRL have announced twice previously that they've come to an understanding with the players. It has been publicly disparaged by the players, both NRLW and the NRL. They're currently standing down from all media duties. They're not participating in any media duties for any club until this has been sorted. Lee, how long can they push the pass on this before we see players boycott games, possibly trials, and then potentially actual competition rounds?
I've kept my powder dry about this on my socials because obviously I'm friends with a lot of the players and I have full respect for them and really do want them to get their best outcomes. However, they've just been given a 25% pay rise. There are people striking all over the world since COVID has subsided or been put on the back burner that their wages haven't gone up with inflation and whatnot. So if you offered the train drivers, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, and everybody else who's on strike in England, if they'd like a 25% pay rise, they'd snatch your hand off. So the NRL players have done very well. Now, I do understand their need to have a CBA and to protect their life from bad events and whatnot. However, I do think rather than this militant approach that their leader, Clint Newton, is taking, they need to go with a bit more goodwill because they've got 25% pay rise. And I don't think this would have happened if Clint Newton wasn't the boss of the RLPA. I think a lot of this is about Clint Newton. I think he wants to be seen as some kind of militant hero. I do know Clint personally, and that is my read on it. So I think, if the players are getting told they're having getting a bad deal when they've just been given a 25% pay rise, then I think they've been misinformed because they've got a real good pay rise. Just go with a bit more goodwill, a bit more time, and it will get sorted. Would be my approach rather than let's hold the game to ransom for the CBA. Now I know the CBA is important, but there are other matters as well. The ladies still don't have a draw. The ladies don't have a CBA, so there's a lot to wade through. I'm saying all that without knowing the machinations, the inside out about what's going on. Volandis might be being a pain, I don't know, to them. I've kept quiet about it because I really want the players to get a real good deal. But the other half of me says, lads, you've just got a 25% pay rise. People all over the world would cut off a hand for that. Can we be a little bit less militant?
So let me read to you this post from the Rugby League Players Association. It was posted approximately a week ago, and it sort of outlines what the players are actually asking for and what's currently being negotiated by the NRL. One of the first things they want is a new medical support fund because players are excluded from workers' compensation legislation, meaning that in the current CBA, players only have 12 months to have any surgeries and rehab paid for that will help fix the injuries they suffered during the careers. The players want the game's first medical support fund to ensure past NRL and NRLW players can have their surgeries covered well into retirement. That's one of the first things they're asking for.
Well, let's maybe just go step by step. I mean, how far in the past do we go?
This is true. There has to be a line somewhere. There has to be something that stops. But I would not be surprised if we see in 10 years, some of the effects that we're seeing with NRL players get worse and worse in 10 years 100%. Needing surgery. So what happens if, for example, let's say player A played through their whole career, they had 3 surgeries on their knee, 3 surgeries on their knee to play rugby league. They finished their career, their knee was surgically fine, but because it was so banged up, because it had so many injuries, in 10 years' time, that knee now needs a replacement at the age of 40, as opposed to 50, 60, 70 that you see also, people needing knee. What's covered? That knee, you can almost guarantee, has been on the back end of some bad treatment playing football, playing rugby league.
Some of them go on and keep playing football after they've retired, or they play recreational sport. And the other thing is, when it comes to the concussion stuff, I know there's a players' revolt in some areas of England, and a couple of the players were known to be going out fighting every weekend and getting in scraps. So did they get concussed on the field or get concussed in scraps at the weekend? So it's that stuff is a legal minefield, and I just think that, all of a sudden, why has it become an issue?
Yes.
So if, it's become an issue because there's been a lot of a lot of stories about it, i.e. Mario Fennick. Well, that's all well and good, but how about a 6-month sort of cooling off period just to try and sort it and so to future-proof the game? Because the game isn't swimming in money.
No.
That 25% that's gone to the players won't be going to junior development now.
No.
That's what I was thinking. That money don't grow on trees, and so the participation's not as high in the game and everything. We talked about that.
Don't get me wrong. All the executives can have slightly less salubrious surroundings at games and stuff like that. Maybe they should sit in the normal seats with everyone else, or travel on the train, or whatever it may be. But ultimately, one thing that I will give Volandis credit for is I think he does know how to look after the bottom line. And this strike threat isn't good for him either, so I don't think he'd be holding out for no reason. There's always propaganda on both sides. What else is on this list, Taylor?
A first ever NRL WCBA. Those players don't have one.
Fair enough.
They deserve one. They want one for contract security and the full terms and conditions to help protect them and their families.
Yeah, that's fair. But,
absolutely.
But is it worth striking over?
You've got to remember, we are being given a list from the RLPA that they are demanding, not a list that the NRL has rejected. The NRL might be fine with 90% of this list, have problems with one thing. The whole CBA is currently being scrapped for it. Better terms for the most vulnerable players, because the average NRL career is less than 45 games. Making your way into the NRL and NRLW and building a career is tough. You need to be supported to make it happen. Players
They've just received a 25% pay rise.
They need better training wages, better minimum salaries, more contracts and contract certainty, match fees and transition benefits, all to support players, but specifically middle and lower income earners. So they have specified the middle and lower income earners on that list.
Who still have a 25% pay rise.
They have, or across the board, 25% pay rise. The next thing they're requesting is a new past players program, because what the game does now is not enough. Players' careers are getting shorter and the game is faster and harder. It can all be over at any moment. You don't always get to choose when that moment is. We need to help the players transition into life beyond the playing field. Now, I believe the NRL is doing nearly as much as possible right now to transition players into futures beyond the game. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
At what stage can you lead a horse to water, Lee?
I think, again, I just still put all these categories. I mean, I don't think it's essential that these are sorted out by March the 1st. I really don't. And to hold the game to ransom for these things, or potentially hold them to ransom, isn't a great thing.
The next one they've asked for is fair agreement rights. Players need to agree to all core terms of employment. Once they are agreed, they shouldn't be able to be changed without the player's agreement. Those are basic and common employment rights, and players should have them. Agreement rights include hours worked, number of matches played, wage structures, when players can secure a contract, pregnancy and parental policies, and fines.
Yeah.
So this is something that was sorted out as well.
There's nothing. Taylor, I don't think there's going to be anything that I don't think the players should get. It's all about the tone of it all.
Yes. The next two things they asked for is an improved injury hardship fund to account for the additional players, more than 250 across the new teams and the Dolphins coming into the CBA. So they want an improved hardship fund for players who are suffering injuries and can't secure a new contract until fully rehabilitated. The last one they want is a fair share of revenue, because players, clubs and states generate the money for the game. It is reasonable for players to have a fair share of that revenue they bring in. So that share isn't just going into salaries. Players want it to fund new programs and benefits that will support current, future, and past players. Now,
that's quite vague.
Very, very vague. That the wording on that is vague. And if they've asked for the other funds, which is fair enough, they've asked for the funds to have those things like the new hardship, all these sorts of things. They're now specifying where it has to come from. They're saying it has to come from the revenue that they've earned. Do you know what I mean? It's starting to get very, very murky. I guess you could sort of say there is a little bit of those tactics you mentioned, Lee, the bullying, sort of pushing the NRL into a corner, making
militant,
very militant for style look on the whole negotiation. And I mean, look, it's January 26th today. We're only a month and a little bit away from March the 1st. I don't necessarily think we can see all these things sorted between now and then. And does that mean the game maybe doesn't kick off?
It'll kick off.
Do you think we'll come to some sort of agreement somewhere in the middle?
I would have thought so. I can't understand why it wouldn't.
Look, I'd like to think that there'd be some things in this agreement that can be ironed out now, and the rest, the sticking points, can be spoken about at a later date. Possibly say, let's put a 6-month hiatus, as you said, Lee, a 6-month hiatus on the big ticket issues. Let's get the women a CBA. Let's get the NRLW players a CBA. In my opinion, looking at that list, that's number one. That should be one of the easiest things to sort out. Yeah. They've already got the salary cap proposed. The women are happy with it. The Players Association are playing hardball with that, saying they haven't given the women a CBA, when in reality they've got one ready to go. It's just the sticky points on the other end. I think they need to iron that out. If they can get to that common ground, I've got no doubt that the season can kick off. But I think that's the big one. If they can't get a women's CBA signed by March 1st, I would not be surprised if players turn around and do not play.
I wouldn't.
Because the women wouldn't be allowed to play. They wouldn't have contracts.
No, I wouldn't, because somebody very militant is leading them, and his head's in the paper every 30 seconds. So,
yes. Yeah. Interesting times. It's going to be very interesting times in the world of rugby league. And can you smell that in the air, Lee? Footy's around the corner. We're already talking about hot button issues. We're going to be back in the swings of it anytime soon.
I know. I can't wait. I can't put my ice pack on again.
I cannot wait till we talk about ladder predictions. I cannot wait.
Oh, just throw the 16 names up in the air, let them come down in any order, and just put them in that, and then probably get closer than if you just try yourself.
I've studied it. I'll tell you what, the Dolphins are going to have a better year than everyone thinks. I'm telling you.
Totally agree. And the Dogs aren't as going to have as good a season as everyone thinks they will, and neither are the Broncos. Now, I would not be totally shocked to see the Dolphins being in the top 8 at the end of the year. Not totally shocked. No. And St. Helens aren't going to win the comp this year, James, I don't think.
Right, really? Who do you fancy?
I don't know, but I've just got a feeling St. Helens might have took a bit of a risk getting Wello as coach, because he's not coached anything higher than equivalent level before. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that was a relatively sour way to end our podcast, talking about the RLPA and the players' contracts. But it needed to happen. I felt like we needed to start getting to these issues. It's massive in the paper. It's a big story in rugby league. The people want to hear it. The people want to view it. We needed to get to it. But thank you very much, James, for joining us from all the way over in Europe there, in England. Thank you for joining us. I think it's a couple of years via ship. That's what they're telling us. And Lee, again, a pleasure. Thank you for joining us with your massive schedule.
Thank you.
And good luck. Good luck. Where are you? Where have you got anything tomorrow?
Nope.
Nothing tomorrow.
Nah. Fridays I try not and do. Okay. Next week, my week is as follows: Logan, Kapalaba, Greenbank, BOR, and then Mustangs.
Wow.
Saturday, Sunday. I have one day off next week. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you very much, Lee. Good luck next week. We'll
Take care.
Catch you again.
See ya.
Take care.